Hello, awesome people, and welcome to our next presentation. This one is titled $8,000 worth of awesome sales and marketing training on the house, and it's developed and presented by myself, Edward Zier, marketing mentor and for networking leader. That's me on the in the image there, of course, of my lovely better half. And I just want to say a big thank you for joining me in this rather compelling video presentation. I hope you don't mind me saying my own presentations are compelling. Now, of course, if you've met me in the real world, you'll recognize me there. And if not, I want to take the time to introduce myself to you. My name's Edward Zier, based in Sydney, Australia. I'm a marketing mentor with my own business, and I specialize in helping small business owners and entrepreneurs really with their sales and marketing and business growth, really helping them get powerful results. I used to be an industrial chemist a long time ago. I used to work for the government as well. And eventually over time, I sort of built myself a really, really neato marketing career as a corporate marketing manager. I then got wiped out and retrenched a few times. And eventually I came to my senses and said, it's time to start my own business. Instead of helping the top end of town and fat cat get fatter, I want to help out the little guy and girl, helping them start amazing businesses and building cool lives for themselves. So what am I? Marketer, sales trainer, for networking leader, and I do a lot of blogging as well, a lot of Facebook, and also online products, which I'm running into. My nickname is the Crazy Persian. So welcome. It's good meeting you online. Now, just a bit of heavy stuff that I need to go through in these sort of presentations is just a bit about me and my accreditation. As a marketing mentor and certified practicing marketer, it holds myself and my business to the highest ethical and personal development standards of my industry. The information content in this presentation is of general advice and education only, as not intended to constitute personal advice. And if you need some personal advice, please contact me for some personal sales and marketing mentoring. And all materials are developed and produced and originally marketed by Edward Zier, myself, of Excellence Above, and it's all copyright 2014. Oh, now with that out of the way, I just want to say it's really important, but some important heavy stuff we want to go through. So I just want to make that clear. This presentation is of educational nature only. It's not designed to be personal advice. And with that in mind, I want you to really think through, and there'll be things that I say that you may not agree with and things that will just really resonate with you. So my goal is to give you some amazing small business marketing strategies and ideas to really help you. And that's really, again, what I do and what I get paid for and the way I love helping people. Now, small business sales and marketing is a massive area of industry. And I've been in the industry for a long time. I've been in my business for about 4 years now as I do this presentation. And look, sales and marketing is a massive area, especially in small business. It covers anything from strategy to planning to pricing to online products to personal selling to public selling, Facebook, email marketing. In fact, I think one of the biggest problems with small business sales and marketing is not figuring out what to do, is always what not to do. The options and possibilities can be just limitless at times. So, I think really understanding where your business is at and picking what to do next is very, very important. Now, the point of this presentation is I want to deliver you amazing content, cut to the chase. I'm not here to jerk you around or anything. And I want to teach you amazing proven sales and marketing strategies. And I want to give you a lot of ideas and help you work out what fits into your business objectives. And here's a big thing. You'll notice that this is the promise of my brand and my business. My goal is to give you the lot without holding anything back so I can prove to you I'm worthy of doing business with. So be it you want to hire me or check out my online products or workshops or whatever. Or even if you never hire me, even if you just want to, keep an eye on what I want to do and my blog posts and that. Everything I teach is for real. And I want to prove to you that I know my stuff and I can obviously help you. And here's a big thing, like all things, I go through a lot of detail, a lot of content, a lot of information. So take it slow, one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed and just take one nicey, juicy strawberry at a time. Love that photo. I think it's a good one. And here's a big thing. Rosie the Riveter from World War II. To me, the We Can Do It really sums up the strength of the underdog with good inspiration and motivation. And this is why I've always looked at small business marketing. It's simply about making your business more awesome, helping more people find it, selling stuff, looking after clients, and selling more. So a very, very street level definition. To me, it's very important. Marketing, sales and marketing can be quite complex at the start. So it's my goal to make it as easy for you as possible to really give you the ideas, and also talking about my personal clients too, giving them the information they need to get the success that they deserve as well. And here's a big thing. Now, this presentation, $8,000 worth of sales and marketing training, is more about entrepreneurship from a sales and marketing viewpoint. And I found this amazing, amazing quote on Google, which I just totally loved. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like others won't, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. Beautiful. I love it. I think it's amazing. And there's a copy of my passport. But before I ironically went on the trip, which I'm sort of talking about here and the amazing business lessons I learned, that was my brand new passport. I was literally sitting at the post office there, picked it up, and I just had to take that amazing photo of it. And I want to go back to where it all began. You'll notice that a lot of my presentations and my logic and the way I think is all about going back to basics. It's all about history and understanding mechanisms and that type of thing. And one thing I must talk about when it comes to sales and marketing is that we all have wins and losses in life. And when I look at my own adventure and then reflect back on what happened to me, every time I've screwed something up, if I've sat there and, which I have before, blame people and not taken responsibility, I've really not benefited from that experience. But even with the big losses, when I sat there and reflected and, how can I say, really got the lesson out of it that I need to learn, it actually increased my money-making capabilities. So I think in this way, in reflecting on this presentation where I'm coming from, I like to kind of think of, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. We all have. I've made a lot of mistakes in business. Understanding them and forgiving yourself for them and then moving on. And when you pick up new ideas, you can make amazing amounts of wealth surprisingly quickly is what I've noticed. And this is my huge promise. Absorb all your mistakes. Don't worry about them. And I'm going to give you 8 $1,000 lessons on the house. And if you make it part of your business DNA, I promise it'll be revolutionary for you. Now, I'm making a big promise. I accept that. But what I can say, these lessons totally changed my business and my life. And that's why I've been so eager to share it with, tons of people out there. And look, the big thing is that we all have issues, but you can turn them into strengths. Like, some years ago, I couldn't even sell. I couldn't even get up and speak to a room of people, let alone do, a recorded video like this for you awesome people out there. And what I found in that scenario was that I had to work very hard over time to rebuild my self-esteem. And even though I couldn't sell, I didn't get paid for a living to teach people how to sell. I get hired by top companies teaching them how to sell. And that is just amazing in my book. So in other words, it doesn't matter where you are at or where you've been, you can make it all back. But then, of course, if you're in a good spot anyway and you're looking for more, ignore the slide. Just keep going hard and enjoy things in style. Now, with these lessons here, that's a photo of me taking the United Kingdom after I climbed a wall. In May 2014, I went on a life-changing and fun business trip. Basically, I went to the Middle East, being at Dubai, United Arab Emirates, spent some time in the United Kingdom, and I came back via Manila in the Philippines. And the reason why I say it's the $8,000 mindset principles, the trip cost me $8,000. And during that trip, I learned I learned 8 lessons for 8,000. So the way I sort of calculated it, every lesson cost me $1,000. And this is what I'm giving to you on the house. And again, you take one of these, it will totally change your life. First lesson, and this is on the way to the United Kingdom, I was leaving from Sydney. The first place I went to was Dubai, and the lesson is age and success are not related. Now, during this trip in Dubai, some years ago, like after I sort of finished in the chemical industry, I actually lost my job after 9/11 when the aviation industry collapsed. And what happened to me was I was very lucky. I sort of landed on my feet and got a job as a full-time marketing manager. And my first boss, who's a great personal friend to this day, he was an ex-police detective, and he actually led the squad that ended the Port Arthur massacre. So very unfortunate events. A long time ago, there was a massacre in Port Arthur, which is in Tasmania, which is a small island off Australia. And basically, he was the guy that led the squad that apprehended this, gun-crazed serial killer. And it was quite an extreme situation. Amazing man with a heart of gold. And that would have been over 12 years ago that I'm making this reference. And he taught me a lot of things that I know, and he really set me up for success. And when I went, I knew he was in Dubai, and I was going to meet him in Dubai on the way to the United Kingdom. And when I went to go and meet him in Dubai, when I first saw him, I knew something was wrong. And he's a great guy. And I said, listen, friend, what happened? What happened to you? And as we ended up having a coffee when we started off, and we started talking, exchanging stories. And what happened to him? He actually had some really good work, but lost it. He lost his. He had a business which he lost in Dubai. And he's sort of living off his wife's wage. The poor guy. And what was interesting, I originally went to Dubai to learn from the man, but it actually sort of flipped around. I ended up teaching him some powerful things, and the thing is that he's a great guy. He'll be back on his feet in 6 to 12 months. His loss is just temporary. But the thing that just taught me is that you're never too old to fail, and you're never too old to succeed or too young to, you know what I'm trying to say. Age and success are not related. You can be young and make it, and you can be old and fail. And the thing that it's really taught me is that, really, when you're in business, make sure you're acting in a sustainable way. I think that's one lesson. And the second lesson as well that really resonated with me too is that when you're sort of approaching life from this viewpoint, if you get taken out, you just get back on your feet and you move on. And we hear those stories all the time. And I've done this in my own way. Those multimillionaires that lose everything, and within a few years, they've got it all back and more. And I think it's just amazing. Lesson 2 is emotions are logical. Now, the man in the photo here is a great guy by the name of Stefan Thomas, and he's the networking director of 4 Networking. So if you go 4 Networking into Google, it's a massive networking group across the UK and Australia. Now, it's massive in the UK. And he is the actual author of Business Networking for Dummies, as in the yellow and, as in the gold and black book, which the For Dummies brand. And he's written the book there. It's just been amazing. And what I've noticed is that I spent quite a few days with him when I was in the United Kingdom. I'm in this 4 Networking business networking community. And Stefan is the network director of the UK. So he was sort of assigned to me to look after it. It was just amazing. We both really helped each other. But the thing that I found is that a lot of Stefan Thomas's work was actually dealing with people with hostile emotions to each other. And he would sit there and talk to people all day. People were fighting each other. He'd get a call from someone saying such and such is a dummy and mean and that. And then the other side would call up and say exactly the same thing. And what I found, and this is what I really learned, is that being a very director type of personality myself, quite often I've dismissed a lot of people's emotions. I haven't quite recognized the way people are feeling and really understood them. But what I found that's amazing about Stefan, he made this comment, emotions are logical. We're human. We do feel emotions. At the end of the day, we can logically be convinced something, but if we don't emotionally feel it, we're not going to do it. And that's just the reality of it. So especially from a sales and marketing viewpoint, you really got to understand how people feel, be it they like you, they don't like you, and why. So to me, this is one powerhouse lesson. Lesson number 2, emotions are logical. Lesson number 3 now is I know there's a lot of words on PowerPoint slides and I shouldn't put that many words in there, so I'll talk this one through. There's a lot of words on the slide, but I really want to get this message through. This woman by the name of Dee Atkins, I got permission to tell the story from her, of course, because it's quite a personal sort of story, and she's given full authorization for this. And when I was in the United Kingdom, and this being the lesson, choose profitable happiness now, I met this amazing woman. She's 26 at the time that I met her. And when I was talking to her, I just assumed she was loaded. I assumed that she had a lot of money. And you could tell that she was a very, very successful woman. And when I started talking to her, she just turned around and said to me, Ed, I actually don't have any money. I lost everything. And I was sort of a bit taken back. I was like, what are you talking about, Dee? Like her name's Dee, her full name's Dion. What are you talking about, Dee? And she goes, Ed, do you really want to know? And as I became friends, I spent quite a few days with her. We even got drunk a few times. And look, what happened was that when I actually got to speak to her and got to know her as we worked together on a conference and all that, I actually found out she has an autoimmune bone disease. And as a 25-year-old, she was 26 when I met her, she had the bone structure of a 62-year-old. And what I noticed is that I would tell that she's in pain many times. And it was quite a sad story. It was very, to be honest, even though I've told the story many times, every time I tell the story, it doesn't get any easier. I'll try it now anyway. This poor woman, right before Christmas, a year before I met her, she was told that if she doesn't get chemotherapy, she's going to die. It's like about 2 weeks before Christmas. And she had chemotherapy before Christmas. And after Christmas, she had no hair at all. She lost all her hair. And she had some real permanent scarring come as a result from that. And what happened is she's been on medication and she's been through a lot of treatment. And what's happened is she's sort of gotten through a lot of the worst of that. She takes medication treatment to keep herself on track and stop the pain and sort of slow down her autoimmune disease, where basically her own immune system attacks her own bone structure. And the thing that amazed me, she was so happy and motivated and powerful all the time. And I said to her, Dee, look, Dee, can I be straight with you? How do you do it? How do you stay so happy all the time? And when I said that, I could tell she got a bit angry. She got a bit tense at me. And she goes, well, Ed, I can choose to live with happiness or sadness. Being happy helps me get back on my feet and will help me make more money and improve my life. And I'm like, wow. And the thing is that if you met this woman and saw how she decided to be happy against having no money and having such a, genetic disease against her, an autoimmune disease, it was amazing. It was just life-changing. And the thing was, she was signing up clients. She runs a virtual assistant firm, and I just found her amazing. So I just want to put it out there. This woman is someone on the edge, and she chose profitable happiness. She was in the zone. She was performing, and she made a choice. And again, I have nowhere near the problems that she has. Not many people have anywhere near the problems that she has, yet she chose to be happy. And I think that's just amazing. So I just want to put that out there to you. So if you're a whinger like me, meeting her has really just changed my life. And this is actually one of my favorite lessons. But I got some more ones too. And this is a favorite lesson of mine too. The fourth lesson was being the critical and independent thinker. Now, during this actual trip, I met an old friend of mine, and I once tried to become a currency trader, and I failed miserably. And I met an old friend of mine by the name of Jarrett Davis. Now, if you Google him, he's actually rated by Barclays as one of the world's best foreign exchange traders, and this guy's amazing. The guy's a genius. Absolutely heart of gold. He knows what he's doing, and he's got his own private funds as well as his own. He manages a massive hedge fund. And I think he's in his early 30s. I was 27 when I met him originally. And what I noticed about Jarrett, and this lesson, is quite short and profound. He was so successful in his own right. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to succeed. He just had amazing skills and abilities. But he was such an independent thinker. And I don't mean he was an independent thinker in terms he was like the creepy guy in the trench coat and disconnected from society way. But what I mean is the independent thinker in the terms of, I'm my own person. I can think what I want. And I've seen this guy go, when let's say he's trading, he's buying or selling or whatever amazing stuff he's doing with foreign exchange. I've seen this guy go against thousands of people in putting on a position worth tens of thousands of pounds, and he was right, okay? And I just said to Jarrett, I've sort of found out a story, and I said, Jarrett, how did you become so independent? And cutting a long story short, is that when he was younger, he was raised just by his mother, and he had to spend a lot of time looking after his brother, and that naturally made him critical and independent because it was just him and his brother all the time, him looking after him. And Jarrett's view was amazing. He goes, well, look, Edward, no one ever has 100% pure facts. At the end of the day, we're always making stuff up. We're always making decisions with imperfect information. Everyone's making stuff up. So why should I listen to anyone else over myself? Which I think is very interesting. So I'm not saying you don't follow expert advice or anything like that, or don't listen to experts. But what I'm saying is ultimately you sit there, you take responsibility for decisions, and you be that critical and independent thinker. And that's the power I really got from this side of what Jarrett explained to me. 5, always link your actions to your objectives. Now, in this part of my trip, I was very lucky to meet a man by the name of Suraj Soda. We're very similar to Jarrett, actually, similar sort of age, and he's a blogging mentor. You can Google him as well. He's a British-born Indian. He's one of the networking group I was visiting, one of their first leaders, and he made a lot of his money through affiliate marketing, online products, and mentoring. Now, this guy travels the world, and what's interesting is that as a full-time blogger, and if you're not sure what blogging is basically the art of a web blog. It's writing articles about your content, developing a follower base and building trust that way in order to sell your technology. Now, what I found very interesting, and this is, again, I don't want to dig too deeply into this one because our discussion was more technical in nature, but even though it was technical, it was still absolutely brilliant. What Suraj was very, very good at doing was ripping apart my online marketing. And he said to me, Edward, you got to always link your business behavior, your marketing to what you are selling. Keep your behavior linked to your objectives. And the way I sort of look at this, and maybe sort of just generalizing a little bit more, whenever you're in business, be it sales or marketing, it's very, very good to question, is what I'm doing going to contribute to my business? Am I making the right decisions that's going to lead to increasing my wealth? Am I wasting my time? Am I investing my time wisely? So I think it's a very, very good filter to always sort of evaluate what you do and link it to your business objectives and use it that way. So again, brilliant and amazing. I think I love this one from Suraj. Lesson number 6 is 100% belief and backing of yourself. Now, this lovely, handsome man, not me, but the other guy, Brad Burton, is the leader of 4 Networking. He's the guy that started 4 Networking UK, which is a massive networking group. This guy's been on TV. He's done incredibly well. Now, this guy came from a very impoverished condition. Came from Manchester, which is, of course, a bit of a rough city in the United Kingdom. His father was a heroin addict, and this guy, you sort of can tell, but I sort of can't, but he's part black. And he faced discrimination from both sides, which is quite sad. And he was addicted to marijuana and impoverished at one point. And what happened is that he once had 2 bullets fired through his window. And that was the day that he changed his life and started looking at things very differently. And the interesting thing is that when he started out, he's not the most sophisticated of characters. He has, in his own words, he sounds a bit like a thug. But when he started his own business and he said, I'm going to create an amazing networking group and change the way that people network. At the time, networking was quite stuffy in the UK, and there was a sort of certain structured way of doing it. But he created these really fun networking groups, which have just changed lives, including my own. What was very interesting when I met this guy is that he 100% believes and backs in himself. This is one of my favorite lessons on that trip for sure. All the lessons were great. And I remember each of them touched me in different ways. And the way that this one touched me was that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make big issues. You're never going to, you don't know that you've made a mistake until after the decision. But you need to believe in yourself 100% at all times. So every time you make a decision, you give yourself that 100% belief and backing of yourself. And you do that all the time. And you do that from day one. And to me, what was interesting is before I went on my big trip, I was about 80% believing in myself. And whenever I do something, I'd feel this struggle within, this bit that's always pulling on me. But when he sort of put it to me in these terms, he did swear at me because people from Manchester do that. I'm sure not all people do. But when he put it in those terms, it totally changed the way I thought, because I realized, hang on, Edward, or anyone, and I suggest this to a lot of people, I'm brilliant, I know what I'm doing. I'm allowed to believe in myself. I'm allowed to give myself that backing and support, okay? Because again, I'm not so much talking about this from a life coach or emotional viewpoint. I'm talking about this from sales and marketing. If you're busy selling, running a business and dealing with ambiguity, you need that real 100% belief and backing of yourself. Very important. Very, very, very important. Lesson 7, I thought was completely amazing, and this is another one that really touched me as well, is I managed to actually spend some time living in a manor. Now, Terry and Lynn Cooper, amazing couple, obviously a little bit older. They live in a mansion, and I actually stayed in their place for a few days. And Terry was actually retired and was the CEO of a publicly listed company in his old life. And basically retired, got bored, and he basically bankrolled Brad Burton. So as in this guy here, Brad Burton, this is basically his business partner, and he helped fund and build 4 Networking. So we consider him the godfather of 4 Networking. He's in his mid-60s. And what's fascinating about him is that, from the age of 19, he was selling. I understood that he used to sell photocopiers when he was starting out. And he went through almost all levels of rank in his career. He used to be like a guy selling stuff on the streets, right into selling stuff on the phone, right into looking after teams, senior management, general management, and becoming a director and everything. And what was very interesting is that he really put selling to me in perspective, and I realized that I could have been selling a lot more. And of course, I've been giving this advice to a lot of my awesome clients, and you on the house too, is that when you're running a business, your job is to sell, look after clients and sell. Because the reality is that your business is dependent on how much you sell. If you're not selling stuff, you're dead. Doesn't matter how great your processes are or whatever you're doing. If you're not selling stuff and getting people buying your product, it's game over, pure and simple. So selling to me is one of those critical areas of a company. It's just so important. And here's the big thing I liked. And this is what he always said to me: Edward, you got to sell by picking up the phone. Always be the one chasing and always ask for the sale. Now, of course, not everyone would necessarily have a business like that. But in terms of my own personal mentoring or selling, inviting people to networking groups, the thing I learned is, unless you say you're a pure online person, at the end of the day, you're probably speaking to people, especially if you're a consultant or something like that. You got to be on the phone, you got to be high touch, you got to be engaged with people, and you got to be selling all the time. And then, of course, bringing that to an online context. If you're, let's say, running a Facebook campaign, you got to make sure that thing's selling too, so you're getting product over the door and you're getting money in. So I think it's just interesting. I think that, I know it might sound obvious, you got to sell all the time. It might sound obvious, but I found quite often a lot of people don't do it. You can get caught up in the technical side of your business and forget that you need to be the one that's selling. So again, a powerful lesson from an amazing man. And the final lesson was probably a lesson of my own, and I titled this one Reflections and Reconciliation. And what it was is that, when I finished the trip, I spent 4 days by myself in Manila in the Philippines. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Manila, and as much as I love Manila, it's a rough part of town. It's a rough part of the world. But having that isolation, I suppose, even though I was on Facebook and I was doing emails every day and working away, having that isolation was amazing. It gave me time to really reconnect with myself, think about myself, and think about my own life. And I realized quite a few things. I realized that you can't work like a dog forever in your life. You got to make friends with yourself. And I suppose what happened is I've always been busy. I've always been on the go. And what invariably kind of happened was that, I never looked within. I never dealt with my own issues. I never dealt with my own insecurities. And again, I'm not a psychologist or a life coach. I'm a sales and marketing guy. But what I've found and learnt from this is every so often, if you're used to being surrounded by people like I was, and there's something inside of yourself that you're avoiding, you got to stop, take a break, really look at your enemy within and make friends with your enemy within. And what I found was that through doing this, I was able to deal with a lot of my own issues, a lot of my negative self-talk, and it made me a lot more confident. Now, what's the point of being confident? It helps you sell more. The better your self-esteem, the more confident you are, the better your sales are going to be. There's a direct link in that regard. Okay, so that was a very, very powerful sort of inspiration for me. And, it's something that I really, look back on quite fondly. And what I want to do is I just want you to take what you need from this. And I've done this presentation many times to live audiences. I've had ovations for this, and I've given people a room key insights right through to things that have just changed their lives and the way they look at things forever. And what I've found is out of this is usually 1 to 2, or maybe 1 to 3 things will appeal to you. You'll look at some things and go, yeah, but there'll be something that really leaps out at you and really grabs you. And what I invite you to do is really take that, implement that in your business. Because again, even though I talk a lot of sales and marketing, these are the more softer psychological sides of things. And what I want to really impress on you is that work out how you can use it in your business. Now, on the right-hand side, in our business, we quite often talk about the 90-day action plan. And what the 90-day action plan involves is basically prioritizing what you need to do next within 30 days, 30 to 60 days, 60 to 90 days, and 90 days plus. What I encourage you to do is you might have a fair idea of what you need to do in your business. This might have given you some key insights. Put them in the plan and work out what to do next and in what order, okay? And of course, don't worry about a thing. If you need a hand with anything, I'm right behind you. There's plenty more of this where that came from. I've educated thousands with the sales and marketing, and my thinking is always focused on the small business owner entrepreneur. I've got free webinars, blogs, networking events, online products, personal mentoring, whatever you need, I'm right here. And of course, visit my blog. You might have seen it already. It's at my website, the Edward Files. So if you just go to my website and click on blog, you can see some great content there. I think it's called the Edward Files. And I usually blog every day and give some amazing tips to really help support people and give people a lot of free advice. And of course, my online marketing course, the Awesome Marketing Vault, it's got some great sales and marketing education with heaps of 6- and 7-figure sales and marketing strategies. You visit my main website, you can't miss it there. Feel free to check it out. It's got a lot more of this if this has really resonated with you. And of course, if you need me one-on-one, you're welcome to absolutely contact me. And I just want to say a big thank you for joining me in this presentation. My website's there, my personal email address is there. And I just want to say it's been awesome having you here. I really do appreciate you listening to this. And like I really like to impress in these videos I put out to the public is if we know each other, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me. If we don't know each other, hopefully we'll meet. And if we never do meet, I just want to say have an amazing time. And I wish you certainly the very best in your life. And I think you're awesome. Having said that, I hope we do certainly meet and talk one day. So feel free to visit my website, check out what I have, and I'd certainly love to assist you. Have a great day or night, everyone. This is Edward here signing out, and keep awesome people, and keep up the good work. Thank you, and good day or good night.